Hello and welcome to Newsweek South Asia, your one-stop destination for in-depth analysis of security challenges, regional conflicts and the evolving threat of terrorism. Let's take a look at the headlines fast. Operation Sindur, India strikes back, exposes Pakistan's terror infrastructure. UNSC's closed-door talks on Indo-Pak tensions. Pakistan faces diplomatic defeat. And BLA strikes again. Pakistan reels amid rising Baloch insurgency. It was a brazen and cowardly act of terrorism. The killing of 26 innocent civilians, mostly tourists, in the serene valley of Pahalgam in India. The April 22nd massacre shocked the nation and once again brought to light the persistent threat that emanates from across the border, Pakistan. Now, India has responded and has done so with resolve, precision and power. In the early hours of May 7, the Indian Armed Forces executed Operation Sindur, striking deep into Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, dismantling 9 major terror hubs. Newsweek South Asia brings you an in-depth report on this landmark counter-terror operation, a clear signal to the global community. India will not tolerate terrorism sponsored by the Pakistani state.
In a joint operation involving the Indian Army, Navy and Air Force, Operation Sindur was launched in the wee hours of May 7th. Military intelligence confirmed the presence of multiple terrorist hubs linked to the April 22nd Pahalgam massacre. The strikes targeted 4 terror facilities deep inside Pakistan and 5 camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, each connected to long-running infiltration operations into Indian territory. In a post-strike statement, the army released a video on X with the message, "Justice is served." List of 9 terror facility locations in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir that were hit. Dozens of terrorists linked to banned terror outfits Jaish-e-Mohammed, Lashkar-e-Taiba and Hizbul Mujahideen were killed in the precision strikes. Briefing the media on Operation Sindur, Indian government officials emphasized its strategic necessity. They stated that the Pahalgam attack was a deliberate attempt to derail the ongoing efforts to restore peace and normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir.
They murdered 26 people, including 1 national of Nepal, causing the largest number of civilian casualties in a terrorist attack in India since the 26 November 2008 attacks in Mumbai. The attack was clearly driven by the objective of undermining the normalcy returning to Jammu and Kashmir. In particular, it was designed to impact the mainstay of the economy, tourism, with a record 23 million tourists visiting the valley last year. The calculation, presumably, was that harming growth and development in the Union territory would help keep it backward and create fertile ground for continued cross-border terrorism from Pakistan.
Among the targets destroyed were the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur and Lashkar-e-Taiba's nerve center in Muridka, both long considered untouchable under Pakistan's protection. These groups have been tied to some of the deadliest terror attacks in India, including the 2001 Parliament attack, 2008 Mumbai attacks and the recent massacre in Pahalgam. The Indian military also confirmed direct hits on Hizbul Mujahideen facilities in Muzaffarabad and Kotli, striking at the backbone of the terror syndicate. These terror hubs have served as the launchpads for decades of cross-border terrorism, shielded by Pakistan's military intelligence establishment under the guise of non-state actors. In what is being seen as a major blow to Pakistan-based terror networks, Jaish-e-Mohammed released a statement claiming 10 family members of terrorist Masood Azhar have been killed in India's airstrikes in Bahawalpur. Pakistan media had reported 14 people were killed in his house. The targeted strikes, which eliminated several high-ranking terrorists, were not the result of chance. They were the outcome of meticulous intelligence gathering, real-time surveillance, and precise coordinated targeting.
Total efficiency has been shown, and you can imagine if they had to strike at 1 o'clock, what time would they have started? How they would have started? All this thing has to be kept in mind. You have to imagine And that is how many agencies come in, including the ground engineers, including the armament loaders, including the, of course, pilots who fly. That's a different thing. Or they're already there. Then everything, then the radar controllers who are controlling them, the air-to-air refueler, if it was required. All these things come into picture. Or AVAC in the thing, which is giving them guidance from the sky through radar. All these agencies which have worked, I personally feel, and of course our political bodies which gave the decision, tremendous job. So we must congratulate them.
Operation Sindur stunned the Pakistani establishment. Mistaking India's preparations as routine defense drills, Pakistani radar and surveillance systems failed to detect the Indian strike teams. The precision and scale of Operation Sindur drew praise from strategic and defense circles across the country.
It has been a pinpoint operation, absolutely marvelously executed. Kudos to the Prime Minister, starting from the Prime Minister to all the people involved and to the armed forces who have done a superb job.
Whoever was there in the camp includes madrasas, camp includes training areas, camp includes living quarters. So precision strikes have been done with the help of missiles, and mostly Scalp missile name is coming up. And these missiles have been launched from various kinds of platforms. And what you have to understand is that the strikes have been successful. Whoever is there inside, they have been killed. So to that extent, we have taken a revenge of what happened in Pahalgam.
As Indian warheads struck terror targets, New Delhi activated its diplomatic channels, briefing key allies including the US, UK, UAE, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. While the UN and countries like China and UAE called for restraint, not a single major power condemned India's actions. Instead, countries like Israel openly supported New Delhi's right to self-defense, emphasizing the need to bring perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack to justice.
India has the right to self-defense. I think it's a very clear message from India to the rest of the world, definitely from your friend Israel. This is something which is essential to send a message to the terrorists. That was an action of self-defense, and I'm very proud of this operation.
The origins of Operation Sindur lie in one of the most gruesome terror attacks in recent memory. On April 22nd, 4 Pakistani terrorists affiliated with the Resistance Front, a proxy of Lashkar-e-Taiba, opened fire on unarmed tourists in the Baisaran Valley of Pahalgam. 26 civilians were murdered in cold blood. As per South Asia Terrorism Portal, TRF emerged in the aftermath of Article 370's revocation. It operates largely online from Karachi, spreading propaganda, radicalizing youth and recruiting operatives via platforms like Telegram, WhatsApp and Facebook. Despite international pressure, Pakistan continues to operate as a patron state for terrorism, harboring global terrorists like Masood Azhar and Hafiz Saeed, funding radicalization through madrasas, and training armed jihadists under the watch of its intelligence services. Operation Sindur has unmasked the myth of Pakistani victimhood. It has exposed Islamabad's duplicity, one where they cry peace in New York and harbor terrorists in Bahawalpur.
It's a matter of joke that Pakistan has been denying even at United Nations. It has been denied that it doesn't have any terror camps. And on top of it, Pakistan claims that it is a victim of terrorism. So all these, the whole world knows that all these things are lies, and Pakistan is a terror harboring nation.
India's Operation Sindur marks a major shift in its response to cross-border terrorism following the horrific Pahalgam massacre. While New Delhi asserts its right to self-defense, Pakistan is sending mixed signals, denying terror camps on one hand and issuing threats on the other. From mock drills at home to diplomatic messaging abroad, the stakes are high. To delve deeper into this issue and discuss the latest developments and get a perspective on what's unfolding, we have with us Rabinder Sachdev, a foreign affairs expert. So, was Operation Sindur a proportional and lawful response under the international right to self-defense after the Pahalgam massacre?
I think it was maybe even less than proportional or proportionate response to what all the country has been suffering over these years. I cannot estimate that. But yes, for this one Pahalgam, dastardly attack, it was one response. It was a tit for tat. So definitely that one. Secondly, as to international norms, etc., I think we've made clear now that our doctrine is tit for tat. And that is something, especially I think the American administration understands that language. Trump understands, you give me one, I take one. We have to level the score. So in terms of international norms, I think tit for tat now is pretty much understood also and accepted also. So therefore we are within the norms, I think.
India has always exercised restraint. Why was it important to shift gears now and respond militarily?
See, there are two things. There is a Chinese saying, I think, never fight until you built up your strength. Get into a fight only when you know you have the strength. Build up your strength and then fight. Do not fight when you're building your strength, one. So, India has now built its strength, one. Second, the mechanisms of what we look at, the machinations of Pakistan that we see over the last so many years have reached a boiling point, a tipping point. So I think it's a combination of these two things. Enough is enough, and we have built up strength.
How should the international community view Pakistan's contradictory stance, calling for restraint in Western media while threatening retaliation on domestic platforms like GeoNews?
Well, that is to be expected. Of course, they'll talk the language of peace and restraint, but at the same time, they will, undertake whatever activities they have to, and it's logical and understood. We've hit them. They have to save their own face within their own country, within their own people, right? So they have to do something. So that's what they're doing here. And in the international forums, theater, they are talking peace and restraint, and then they're also, dangling the Damocles sword of a nuclear weapon. So it's a dual-faced strategy of Pakistan that is well known, well understood, a two-faced strategy, which we understand.
What does Pakistan's defense minister's reliance on social media evidence to claim Indian jets were shot down say about their credibility on modern conflict narratives?
It absolutely, it further erodes, if any, credibility Pakistan's leadership and its statements have. The Pakistan defense minister's statement and not being even able to name the, aircraft or something like that, and saying that, oh, we are going by social media reports. This is like a street corner hangout at the local panwala talking to each other that I saw this happening on social media. In today's day and age, when so much social media is AI and doctored, for the defense minister of a country to say something like that is juvenile, I would say.
Pakistan's Minister of Information was fact-checked on live international TV when he denied the existence of terror camps. How damaging is this to Pakistan's credibility on the world stage?
See, again, Pakistan has lost its credibility time and again, time and again, time and again. What has kept Pakistan afloat has been, one, its geographical location. It has taken advantage of its location with respect to Afghanistan and leveraged money from the US for helping NATO against Taliban, and much before that to fight communist Soviet Union in Afghanistan. So Pakistan has leveraged its location always. And now again here with China, it's leveraging because of the CPEC corridor. China sees value in Gwadar. It's understandable. Gwadar is very valuable asset for China. It will be. So Pakistan, does not bother perhaps with what it says, because you see the countries which cooperate with Pakistan, they know clearly what they want and what they want from Pakistan. So they let Pakistan say whatever it says, but they know. America worked with Pakistan knowing fully well what Pakistan does. And China also works with Pakistan, knowing fully well that Pakistan has terror camps, while those terror camps also threaten China's own, Uyghurs and Xinjiang province. But I think all of them go along with Pakistan because of their own of course, interests in this region.
How does the Indian establishment view Pakistan's repeated contradiction? One minister says there are no terror camps, another admits doing the US's dirty work in counter-terrorism.
I think the government of India is very mature. We know their language very, very well. We know their language and we know their behavior very well. The gap which happens is between the Western world, especially the Americans, the Europeans, understanding what we are telling them. That's where some gap is. We know very well the mind of these people, Pakistan, and the various ethnicities that make up Pakistan. We know how they operate. We've been there ourselves, right? Many of us are descending from those regions. The issue is that what we convey to the Western world, we've been conveying for a long time. As Minister Jaishankar says, Europe thinks its problems are the problem of the world.
Nationwide mock drills were held for emergency preparedness. What does this tell us about the level of seriousness with which India is preparing for a wider conflict?
See, the mock drills, the way I see it, definitely they convey a seriousness for the country to prepare to deal with any emergencies, especially our first responders, the fire brigades, the electrical systems, the hospitals, and of course the citizenry. That's one level of preparedness. But I think and secondly, yes, it creates a psychological fear in the Pakistanis that India is up to some serious thing, preparing so seriously and widely. But I think much more than that, what this drill does is create a unity within India, a unity of purpose, a realization of a unity, a national character, mobilization. So I look at it in that perspective more actually, or equally. So on the one level, yes, it helps us, prepare for, any emergencies. But at the same time, it cultivates a sense of national character, I think, in our citizenry, which itself is a huge thing also.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your insights.
Thank you for having me.
The deadly terror attack in India's Pahalgam on April 22nd, claiming 26 innocent lives, sparked a diplomatic showdown, with Pakistan accusing India of a false flag operation at the UN. But that narrative quickly unraveled. On May 7th, India launched Operation Sindur, a precision strike on 9 terror hubs linked to Pakistan-based terror outfits. In this week's Newsweek South Asia, we explore Pakistan's failed attempt to sway the UN and how India's swift military response has reshaped the region's diplomatic dynamics.
The United Nations Security Council convened in a special closed-door consultation session to discuss the growing hostilities between India and Pakistan, just hours after UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned that the relationship between the two South Asian neighbors was at its most volatile in years. The 90-minute session, held at Pakistan's request, did not produce the outcome Islamabad had hoped for. Rather than endorsing its claim that the Pahalgam attack was a false flag operation, several council members cautioned Pakistan's narrative and expressed concern over its recent nuclear posturing and missile testing, which they said had aggravated regional instability. Significantly, UNSC members raised pointed questions about the involvement of Lashkar-e-Taiba, a Pakistan-based UN-designated terrorist group, in the Pahalgam incident. Investigations into the April 22nd attack indicate that the group was likely behind the assault, which appeared to deliberately target civilians, including pilgrims.
The whole world knows that this attack was carried out by the Lashkar-e-Taiba. the whole world also knows that the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba are in Pakistan, that those people who are heading this organization are being supported by Pakistan, sheltered by Pakistan. The organization is funded by Pakistan and trained also. So the entire finger points to Pakistan having a direct role in what happened on the 22nd of April.
This is not the first time Pakistan has sought to use global platforms to internationalize bilateral disputes with India. In 2019, following India's constitutional changes in Jammu and Kashmir, Islamabad lobbied unsuccessfully for international intervention. That effort was diplomatically neutralized by New Delhi, and this time proved no different.
We note that there were some who tried to project an alarmist approach to the situation which is far from the ground realities. Of particular concern is that one state is using terminology of jihad against and promoting violence in India, including by the leaders. Our national position was and remains that matters related to Article 370 of the Indian Constitution are entirely an internal matter of India. These have no external ramifications. The recent decisions taken by the Government of India and our legislative bodies are intended to ensure that good governance is promoted, socio-economic development is enhanced for our people in Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh.
Despite its diplomatic maneuvering, Pakistan found itself isolated yet again at the United Nations. Its failure to gain support reflects a growing international consensus. Terrorism cannot be justified or politicized, and states must be held accountable for the groups they host. While India focuses on protecting its citizens and securing its borders, Pakistan's reliance on deflection and denial continues to erode its standing in the global arena.
In what appears to be a coordinated escalation against Pakistan military forces, the Baloch Liberation Army, a separatist group waging an armed insurgency in Baluchistan, has carried out a series of deadly strikes. The twin attacks in the Bolan and Kutch districts come at a time when Pakistan is already under pressure following India's recent counter-terror operation codenamed Operation Sindur. As Islamabad scrambles to control the fallout, the BLA's intensified campaign reveals the growing fragility of the Pakistani state. We have a report.
In the arid landscapes of southwestern Pakistan, the Baloch Liberation Army continues its decades-long insurgency against the Pakistani government. The separatist group, operating primarily in Pakistan's largest yet least populated province of Baluchistan, represents a growing security challenge that Islamabad faces. In the Bolan district, BLA's elite Special Tactical Operations Squad executed a remote-controlled IED attack on a military convoy, killing all 12 Pakistani soldiers on board. In another operation in Cage, another BLA unit ambushed a bomb disposal squad, killing 2 personnel.
The struggle for the liberation of Baluchistan has been ongoing for the last 5 decades. And the Baloch fighters have always made it very clear that their aim is to liberate Baluchistan and regain our sovereignty and territorial integrity, which was compromised by the occupation of Pakistan in 1948. The recent attacks in Kech and Bolan are just a sequence of events or the continuation of the liberation struggle of the Baloch people.
These latest incidents come just days after another high-profile assassination, that of an ISI operative Muhammad Nawaz in the coastal town of Pasni near Gwadar. The killing was not random. Pasni lies at the heart of China's investments under the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, a symbol of Balochistan resource exploitation as seen by the local populace. This strategic targeting marks a shift in the BLA's approach, from guerrilla-style ambushes in remote regions to hitting symbolic and strategic assets tied to Pakistan's national interests. Earlier this year, the BLA hijacked the Zafar Express, a major passenger train connecting Quetta to Peshawar. The group not only took passengers hostage but also derailed the train, a move that sent shock waves through Pakistan's intelligence community and demonstrated the group's expanding reach into the country's core infrastructure.
One thing that the Baloch nation has learned under Pakistan's illegal occupation, that the Pakistani Punjabi Army and its intelligence agencies, the ISI, have no self-respect or respect for other human beings, especially for the Baloch. And the language of their choice is force. They force themselves upon the Baloch nation, and when the Baloch force themselves and hurt the Punjabi Pakistanis, then they understand that language. Unfortunately, the very uncivilized and degraded form of human beings. So the only language to speak to them is the language of force, and that's unfortunately the language that has been spoken to them in the recent past.
At the heart of the Baloch insurgency lies deep resentment against decades of state neglect, economic disenfranchisement, and political marginalization. Despite being home to vast reserves of gas, gold, and copper, Balochistan remains Pakistan's poorest province, a paradox that fuels the fire of rebellion. For nearly 2 decades, Balochistan has remained a war zone. Thousands have disappeared, countless civilians have been killed, and the entire communities uprooted, all in the name of counterinsurgency. Yet, far from being subdued, the Baloch movement appears to be gaining momentum, both in tactics and public sympathy. Islamabad now finds itself cornered, facing mounting resistance in Balochistan, unrest in other provinces, and pressure from the international community over its support for cross-border terrorism. The recent attacks is yet another episode in the long-running saga of Baloch resistance, one that Islamabad cannot win with brute force alone.
And with that, we come to the end of this edition of Newsweek South Asia. We'll be back next week with more news, views, and analysis from the subcontinent. Meanwhile, do keep writing to us at nwsa@anin.com. This is Shivangi Mishra signing off on behalf of the entire production team of Newsweek South Asia. Goodbye and take care.